You are almost certainly standing in at least one money trap right now, and the reason you can't see it is that it doesn't feel like a trap. It feels normal. It feels like the responsible, reasonable thing everyone around you is also doing. That's exactly what makes it so effective. The most expensive traps are the ones disguised as ordinary life. So let's go through every type and see which ones have you. The lifestyle creep trap. Let's start with the one that grows so slowly you never feel it tighten. Lifestyle creep is what happens when your spending quietly rises to match every raise you ever earn. The promotion arrives, and within a few months, the bigger paycheck has vanished into a nicer apartment, a newer car, a slightly more expensive version of the exact life you had before. What makes this trap so effective is that it never feels like overspending. It feels like progress. The person earning six figures and saving nothing isn't reckless. They simply let the finish line move every time they got close to it. And that is the cruel design of the whole thing. You can outrun almost anything except a lifestyle that speeds up whenever you do. The minimum payment trap, which is lifestyle creep with a bill attached. This is the trap that turns a temporary want into a permanent tax. A credit card offers you a small monthly number, and that small number feels manageable, so you say yes. What the small number hides is that most of it is interest, and interest is rent. You pay on money you already spent. People carry balances for years convinced they're handling it, while the debt quietly refills itself faster than they pay it down. The minimum payment was never designed to get you out. It was designed to keep you exactly where you are, paying forever and arriving nowhere. The status trap. Closely related, but far more expensive, because this one is powered by other people. The status trap is spending money you don't have to impress people you don't like to project a level of success you haven't reached. The car in the driveway, the watch, the constant upgrades, all of it aimed at an audience that stops paying attention the moment you look away. What makes this trap so brutal is that the reward is invisible and the cost is permanent. You buy the appearance of wealth by spending the very thing that would have made you wealthy. And the people you're trying to impress are usually broke too, trapped in the exact same performance. The convenience trap. Now the quiet one nobody argues about. The convenience trap is the slow bleed of tiny, reasonable purchases that each feel too small to matter. The delivery fee, the subscription you forgot, the daily habit that costs a few dollars and buys back 10 minutes. None of them feel like a decision. That's the trap. Wealth is rarely destroyed by one big mistake. It's dissolved by 1,000 small ones that never felt worth resisting. The convenience trap doesn't take your money in a way you'd ever notice. It takes it in amounts too small to defend against and too frequent to survive. The good enough income trap. Which brings us to a subtler one, because this trap is built out of comfort rather than debt. A good enough income is a salary large enough to remove the pain, but not large enough to build anything. The bills are paid, the fridge is full, nothing is on fire, and so nothing ever changes. What makes this trap so sticky is that it feels like stability. There's no crisis to force a decision, no emergency to snap you awake. People spend decades in a job that pays just enough to keep them from ever leaving it. Comfortable is the most expensive place a person can get stuck, because it costs you nothing today and everything over time. The time for money trap. And this is the ceiling almost nobody sees until they hit it. The time for money trap is any arrangement where your income only exists while you're actively working. The moment you stop, whether it's a bad week, an illness, or simply the end of the day, the money stops with you. What separates this trap from real wealth is a single question. Does it pay you when you're asleep? A paycheck doesn't. Building wealth means owning something that keeps producing while you're absent, and the person trading hours for dollars is buying today at the direct expense of every tomorrow. There are only so many hours, and that ceiling never moves. The fear trap. Now the opposite mistake, made by careful people who think they're being safe. The fear trap is what happens when someone is so afraid of losing money that they refuse to let it grow. They keep everything in cash, watching the balance, feeling secure, while inflation quietly eats a little more of it every single year. What makes this trap so cruel is that it disguises itself as responsibility. Doing nothing feels safe. But money that isn't growing is money that's shrinking in slow motion, and the careful person who never took a single risk often ends up further behind than the one who did. Safety, past a certain point, becomes its own kind of loss. The someday trap. Closely related but built entirely out of time. The someday trap is the belief that you'll start later, when you earn more, when things settle down, when the moment is finally right. And the moment never comes because there is always a reason to wait. What makes this trap so devastating is that its only weapon is delay, and delay is the one thing you can never get back. The person who starts small at 25 beats the person who starts serious at 40 almost every time, time without ever earning more. Someday is the most expensive word in personal finance because it costs you the one ingredient nothing else can replace. And finally, the invisible trap, which might be the most common one of all. This is the trap of the person who does everything right and still never gets ahead. They aren't reckless. They don't overspend. They don't carry crazy debt. They clock in for decades and follow every rule they were given. And they stay exactly where they started because nobody ever told them that avoiding mistakes is not the same as building wealth. Not falling into a trap is not the same as escaping the field of them. Playing careful defense your entire life still leaves you standing on the same square you began on. This is the quietest trap of all, and the one that catches the most decent, hardworking people precisely because it never feels like a trap at all. It just feels like life. And that's the thread running through every single one. None of these traps look like traps. They look like normal decisions, responsible choices, the reasonable thing everyone around you is doing, which means the person who escapes them isn't the one who earns the most. It's the one who can finally see them. So the next time a money decision feels completely normal, remember that normal is exactly where every one of these traps is hiding. And the moment you can see the trap is the same moment you're no longer standing in it. If you made it this far, you're the kind of person this channel is for. Subscribe. See you in the next video.